Okay, Sunday night. Oh my goodness. It is a snowy Sunday. It's been a snowy weekend here in Michigan. We got about 6 inches a couple days ago, and we got another 6 inches overnight. And then over the course of the day, it snowed another couple of inches. So, yeah, lots of snow today. It's absolutely beautiful. We haven't really had I'll say, a proper snowfall. I know some people, are already saying how they're like, I'm tired of it. We haven't had it. We haven't had it for you to be tired of it. So, yeah. And now I see my daughter's out front and the dog is running in the street. So I may have to run out there for a second. But anyway, I have a great show for you today. And so where are you watching from? Hey, Laura, how are you? Nice to see you, my friend. Yeah, let me know where you're watching from. Is it snowy where you are? And or is it just us? So I was out there shoveling yesterday. They're out there shoveling today. So it's just like one constant shovel. Anyway, hey, Bill, how are you? Bill, I know Bill's been working hard, pushing some snow tonight as well. Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh. Hold on. I don't even have my microphone up here. See. Okay. That should be much better. Give me a thumbs up if that's way better. I don't know what I was thinking. My microphone was sitting way back there. I had everything set up. As long as the camera's good, I'm good. Anyway, so I'm excited to bring you tonight's show. I've been really each and every week, just, I do some research. I try to really bring you, what is the latest and greatest. However, I also think about the things that I've already presented. And sometimes I think to myself, I've already talked about that. You guys don't want to hear about it again. But so tonight's topic, I have talked about this before, and I'm going to talk about it again. And so each time that I bring you a new topic or a topic, what I'm actually doing is I'm repurposing it. So sometimes what happens is I present the information and then I get questions, and the questions I get tell me that I need to clarify the information, or that you just weren't ready to hear it the first time. So oftentimes when we're talking about health and wellness, what can happen is it really is such a huge learning curve. So it becomes this whole, like, you need to say things several times in order for people to really have a full understanding. And then you need to say it again. So that is my intention behind tonight's show. So let me go ahead and unfortunately, I'm not able to pull up any show notes because I don't have enough power on my computer for some reason. Just the way that streams, it really zaps the memory from my computer when I try to stream a document as well. So I'm going to be just referring to my notes that I've put together today. And and so for today's show, we are talking again about the gut-brain connection. It is such an important topic, and this is why I see people so often, and they all have gut issues. And then the problem is, oftentimes when people have gut issues, they're not making the connection that whatever health issues they have going on, that it is coming from their gut. So that's why I do feel the need to really keep repeating this topic until often, there's a saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So hopefully in one of these, the teacher will appear for you. So, okay. So in today's show, what we're going to be talking about is, we talk about the gut-brain connection, but we're going to talk about the gut hormone connection and what that often does for us. And then, this is really talking about, why are people so tired? Why we're having mood issues. We've got issues with our libido. We have issues with anxiety, depression, sleep. There's so many different ways that gut and hormones can affect our daily lives. So that's what we're going to break down today. And I apologize, I'm having a little bit of a I've had a cold this week, so forgive me because I'm going to cough for a second. Okay, there we go. So hopefully I won't have to cut this short or distill it down. I'll never cut anything short. I'll just distill it to the end and then make sure that I get you all the information in a later episode. But in an effort to save my voice, I'm going to try to keep this as efficient as possible. So drop your questions. What questions do you have below that you're concerned about when it comes to your gut, when it comes to autoimmune issues, any kind of chronic health issues that you might be dealing with, and what kinds of strategies maybe are you looking to try to implement? What have you, what has evaded you? Have you been able to get to the root cause? And are you confused? You're like, not sure. Should I eat eggs or should I not eat eggs? So, hey, Rick, how are you? Nice to see you. And Laura is coming in from Wisconsin tonight. So, Laura, I'm in Michigan, so I'm probably getting all of your snow. Are you in northern Wisconsin or southern Wisconsin? Are you up by the Upper Peninsula? Yeah, it's been, and then we're supposed to get really, really cold weather, but snow is just beautiful. We haven't had a snowfall like this for a long time. So, all right, here's what we're going to learn. Let me go back to my show notes. I'm going to talk about how our gut microbiome influences our hormones. So what does that actually mean? Our hormones, how are our hormones affecting us? How's our food, our interactions with our environment when it comes to any toxins that are affecting our gut? So we have to really pay attention to the gut microbiome and our hormone balance or imbalance. We're going to talk about the gut-brain axis and what that is. So I've talked about that many, many times, the gut-brain connection, how the two communicate with each other on a micro level that we don't even know it's happening, and what we need to do to take care of that. And then signs of a gut imbalance. Sometimes there's things that are happening that you don't even necessarily recognize, as I mentioned earlier, that it's actually causing a gut issue for you. And then any hormone symptoms from gut dysfunction. So are you having fatigue, low libido, brain fog, mood swings, any sleep issues? So we're going to go through some of these symptoms and signs and symptoms and talk about how do we get this regulated. Hey, Chairman, nice to see you. Welcome in. Excuse me. I'm going to try not to do that too often, but I do not want to cough into the microphone. All right, so let's talk about how the gut microbiome influences our hormone balance. And when we're talking about hormones, we're really focusing on estrogen, testosterone, and cortisol. Now, men and women have estrogen and testosterone and cortisol. We just have them in different ratios. And so oftentimes what happens is we don't have enough. So our estrogen levels will go down, our testosterone levels will go down, men and women. And then what can happen is we end up with too much cortisol. Cortisol comes about because of too much stress, and we're not sleeping properly, and we don't know how to handle it and manage our stress levels. And so we have to understand that oftentimes we're completely out of balance with our hormones. Now, when we talk about the bacteria that helps to regulate, let's just talk about estrogen levels for a minute for women, is it's called the estrobolome. And the estrobolome is a collection of gut bacteria, and it actually helps us to metabolize estrogen. Now, men will have a little bit of this ability to metabolize estrogen as well. And why that's important is because there are things in our environment that what we call estrogen mimickers. And so those are going to be things like your plastics, your cleaning products, the pesticides, the Roundup, the glyphosate, the chemicals that you spray on your lawn, your chemicals in the air that are being sprayed without us even knowing it, your wonderful new car smell, your shampoos, your conditioners, your soaps, your lotions, your candles, your Glade plugins, all of these things have what are called hormone disruptors, and they can really upset the estrogen metabolism. So what happens is we have this bacteria in our gut, and its job is to actually help to metabolize and get rid of these environmental estrogens. And in order to do so, though, it needs to be there in healthy amounts. But because of the things that I just mentioned, what happens is it disrupts the gut microbiome. And so when it disrupts the actual bacteria that should be there, what happens is we're not able to metabolize these estrogens out. And then they can build up into the system, into our bodies. And that can actually, for women, it can become fibroids, it can become cysts. For men, it can actually cause cancer. So we want to be really mindful of how we're metabolizing these hormones out of our body. And if we're not metabolizing them, we need to be doing so. And so a really healthy gut is going to actually ensure that you have proper estrogen detoxification, and that it's actually going to prevent estrogen dominance. So it's going to prevent those estrogens from leaking through the gut and absorbing into the body. And if it does, then, it could, again, it's going to disrupt your sleep cycles. It can cause mood swings, can cause weight gain. And again, in women, it can cause PMS. And it's just really not a healthy environment for us to have. And I'll talk about what this means in a second. But what we ultimately call this is dysbiosis. And so that dysbiosis is an imbalance in the gut bacteria. And then it can lead to all these estrogens going into the system. And again, when that happens, it can lead to a slew of health events that we do not want to, we don't want to expose ourselves to. Now, why does this happen? Because of the environmental influences that I just talked about, and because of our typical American diet, so our highly processed foods, we have 75% of Americans are overweight, with 40% of them being obese. And that is metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is it's risk factors like diabetes, heart disease, hyperlipidemia, so blood cholesterol levels are completely out of whack. It can actually push us into more autoimmune issues. And these are the types of scenarios that we see that are that create this leaky gut. So what is that? Let's redefine that. Now think of your gut. So from the mouth all the way through to the other end should be this fine mesh sieve. So a fine mesh screen. And it can only allow particulates of a certain size to get through. So the body is supposed to break down these nutrients and then send them in through the gut. And then your body will absorb what it should, and it'll excrete out what it shouldn't. And when we have leaky gut from a poor diet, or again, these other environmental factors, and that can even be medications. I mean, people who take one aspirin a day can actually create disruption in the gut microbiome. And so if you have one bout of food poisoning, that can create disruption in the gut microbiome. So think of everyone as having some level of leaky gut. And that it's something that I feel that we all should be working on, because it's also one of those things that people may not recognize they have it, but when they do have it, it almost becomes more of a clinical issue. It can lead to so many other things that we want to prevent all of that from happening. So if we just treat our bodies like we have leaky gut on a daily basis, then we'll be able to actually optimize health before it goes completely south. Now, once we get this disruption in this fine mesh sieve, what happens is we get like holes that just get blown through the lining. And so those holes are bigger than they should be. So now instead of having these fine particles of nutrients that are being absorbed into the body and creating the building blocks for your body to heal and do all the things that it needs to do, now what happens is we get these foreign particles. And these foreign particles, this is what your body decides to attack. And then that's how we end up with these autoimmune issues. So when your body, when you have an autoimmune issue, your body is attacking you for a reason. It doesn't like something that came in. And let's just talk about the thyroid, because the thyroid is a really common autoimmune disease. And when people have thyroid dysfunction, what happens is most of the time they actually have a gluten intolerance. And the gluten, so the gut, the body doesn't like gluten, and it's going to attack everything that looks like gluten. And guess what? The thyroid looks like gluten. And so that's how we end up getting all this thyroiditis. So if you have a thyroid issue, 100% you need to be gluten free. And that means you need to be checking your body care products for gluten. That means if you take medications, you need to be checking them for gluten. There's certain websites, I forget which ones they are, that you can check to see if your medications are gluten free. You can check to see if your supplements are gluten free. I know I represent Metagenics, and Metagenics are all gluten free and dairy free, unless it's like like certain probiotics we derive from dairy, but and it'll say that right on the label. But either way, what you want to be mindful of is how these particles are getting into your body and causing this disruption. It can cause inflammation, and that inflammation can cause you joint pain every day. It can cause migraine headaches. It can cause, again, gut disruption. It can cause infertility. Excuse me. Goodness, I'm really struggling today. So it can cause a whole slew of issues for us. And so we just really want to start to pay attention to that. So treat your body every single day as if you have leaky gut, and then you can start to move the needle forward. So that's typically how it works, is you have these holes in your gut that we need to patch up, spackle, get them healed so your body can start absorbing the nutrients that it needs as the building blocks for better health. So now let's talk about how your gut actually affects your hormones. And a lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, my hormones are all jacked up. Can we do a hormone blood panel? And I'll say, you know what? I'm not opposed to checking hormones, but typically what happens is your hormones follow something else upstream. And so if we look further upstream, this is where personalized medicine, working with a practitioner like myself, getting to the actual root cause, this is how we're able to get people fully optimized back into their health. And so the root cause isn't, we have to just take this really deep dive to really get us to what is the ultimate root cause. And it's not often just treating your hormones. In fact, there's a lot of women in perimenopause and menopause, and they're going straight for hormone replacement therapy. And there is a time and a place for that. However, if you're not taking care of all of the other lifestyle pieces, now you're just putting a Band-Aid on everything. So you can still have estrogen dominance and leaky gut and all of these other health issues. And trust me, I have women in my practice who come to me and they're on hormone replacement. They are taking the weight loss shots, and they claim they've done everything, and they haven't. I promise you they haven't, because within a 3-minute conversation, I can say, you're not even drinking enough water. You're not getting proper sleep. I can pick that apart in a heartbeat. So, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't do either one of those things, but in my opinion, it's not the first line. The first line has to be taking care of you metabolically, creating better metabolic health so that your body can overall function. So through your lifestyle, through diet, through exercise, through sleep, and protecting yourself that way. And then if we look metabolically and we're like, yep, you've done all the things and you're a rock star at all the things. And then if it makes sense, then we go there. And I know women who are on that track too, but they didn't go to the level of hormone replacement until they checked off the boxes on everything else. Now, sometimes just based on symptoms and crisis. So if you're in a hormonal crisis, that might be appropriate to jump on that like now, but that doesn't mean you can ignore the other things. This is much like people who've had their gallbladder out. They get their gallbladder out, and then the doctor says, "Oh yeah, you're fine. You can eat anything you want." That's not true. Now you're at risk for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So what advice are you being given in order to help you understand what made the gallbladder go wrong to begin with? That is poor diet and poor digestion. And so people need to be coached on those types of issues so that you don't end up with non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is a very, very common disease. In fact, it probably should do a video on that. So let's talk about how our gut affects our stress hormones. Wow. Okay. So we have our gut-brain axis. Now, I've talked about the gut-brain axis multiple times. I've talked about the vagus nerve. If you are a first-timer here, then great. And if you are somebody who watches the show on a regular basis, you may have heard me talk about that. You may have missed that episode. But that's why I'm bringing this up again, because this gut-brain axis is so important for us that we have to make sure that we're protecting it. It's the gut communicates to the brain, and the brain communicates back to the gut through what's called the vagus nerve. It's the largest nerve in the body. It starts in the brain and it goes all the way down, and it encompasses your heart and your lungs and your digestive organs and your reproductive organs. It goes everywhere, and it's responsible for helping us to rest, digest, and repair. So we're in a state of fight or flight on a regular basis. And if we're not taking care of this gut-brain axis, our stress hormones will go out of control, which they kind of already are. So this is just an encouraging way of saying, let's get you back to regulating rest, digest, and repair. And I've done a couple of live talks, which probably in about the last 3 or 4 weeks. So you can go back on my channel and you can look those up. And it's one even says, I think it has vagus nerve in the title. The other one is fighting stress or something like that. Anything that says stress on my channel. In fact, I could probably go grab that for you and drop it into the show notes. So we want to take care of this vagus nerve. And I talked about in that presentation that I did about different ways to take care of the vagus nerve. The videos I've done go more in depth on that as well. But when our gut is compromised, and this could be from inflammation, leaky gut, poor diet, it leads to these chronic stress responses, and that will increase our cortisol production. Now, one of the things that I want to bring up, I was having a conversation with a colleague a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about chronic disease and leaky gut, and oh my gosh, I can hear, can you hear my voice? It's like tanking as I'm speaking. I'm going to make it through. I promise I'm going to make it through. Okay. So I was having a conversation with a colleague, and we were having this conversation about leaky gut, about chronic health issues, chronic disease, diet, lifestyle. You know, what are the things that cause this? And I forgot what. It was. We were talking about something specific. Maybe it was cancer, could have been women's health, something. And I said, well, you always have to look to the gut. You know, I mean, everybody has leaky gut. And she said, no, it's sugar. It's sugar, and it's not leaky gut. She didn't say it's not leaky gut, but she was just adamant. It's sugar that causes this. And I'm not disagreeing with her, but here's where I try to be not so dogmatic when I provide you with this information, because we cannot blame any of this on any one thing. It's a multitude of things. And so there has to be a multifaceted approach to it. And each person, this is why personalized medicine is so important, because each person needs a different way to approach it for them. And so yeah, I don't disagree that sugar is it absolutely causes leaky gut. It absolutely feeds into leaky gut. It causes inflammation. It wreaks havoc in our bodies. But you got to go further upstream. This is where personalized medicine comes in, right? So yes, we need to fix the gut microbiome. But here's the thing: if you have candida, which is yeast in your gut, so you have an overgrowth of yeast and fungi. So maybe you've had some mold exposure and you've got leaky gut and you have all this overgrowth of this yeast. Then what happens is those guys, they love sugar. And so they send messages to the brain that they want food, and their food is sugar. So your people who have sugar cravings or carbohydrate cravings, so I call them my carbaholics. You've got to have your breads and your cereals and your mass quantities of carbohydrates. Again, if we go upstream, it's not the fact that you're eating sugar. Yes, that's part of it, but these bacteria are telling you to eat sugar. So sometimes it's not really your fault. So we can't just say to you, eliminate sugar in your diet, because what we then have to do is be able to go in and strategically kill off the yeast. And we do that through certain foods, through certain nutrients. So we kill that yeast, and then we get your gut to heal and recolonate so that it has better balance. So does that make sense to you guys? Just give me a thumbs up in the comments if that makes sense. Where, we're oftentimes people will say, oh, it's sugar, or it's gluten, it's this, and then they eliminate it, or they attempt to eliminate it. They don't really know. Like, a lot of people don't even know how much sugar. 80% of our processed foods have sugar in them. So people might say, I'm not eating sugar because this cracker is savory, it tastes salty. Guarantee you there's some kind of sugar in it. So keeping that in mind, we have to be, we just have to make sure that we're looking at it from a multifaceted lens. And that's what I'm trying to say is that just because you eliminate something doesn't necessarily mean you're going to heal from that thing. So there's a lot more things that go into it. So all that to say that when we get this compromised gut and our cortisol levels go out of control, this can be a big reason for our fatigue, our anxiety, our sleep issues, and then the hormone imbalances. So this is why oftentimes I don't check hormones straight out of the gate, because it can be something further upstream from stress, maybe from candida, maybe from SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Maybe you've had mold exposure and we need to reverse the mold. Maybe you're toxic in heavy metals. There's so many different things that could be happening. And so we have to start changing that in your body. The next thing is thyroid function. So how does the gut affect thyroid function? Well, the thyroid needs iodine, selenium, and zinc, just to name a few things. And that is actually crucial for thyroid hormone production. But what happens when we have leaky gut is, again, we're not absorbing the building blocks that we need to support all of our organs. So we get these deficiencies in minerals like zinc and magnesium and calcium. And then we get deficiencies in the selenium and the iodine. And when we get the deficiencies, now the thyroid doesn't have the building blocks it needs to function. And so then we can get our thyroid autoimmune issues and then end up going on medication, but it's not the fix, right? So what's the fix? Fix the gut and then allow the body to absorb the proper building blocks so that it can support the organ. And so if we have a dysfunctional gut and we're not getting the building blocks for our thyroid, that's going to cause, we could get weight gain, we can get fatigue, we can get brain fog, we can get poor quality sleep, just energy. We don't have the energy, our metabolism is sluggish, our brains are sluggish. So the thyroid is really a critical component here. So, and that's why I like to bring up the thyroid, because too many people are dealing with autoimmune thyroid issues. And when you have autoimmune thyroid issues, again, it's a building block issue. So we have to get your body to absorb the building blocks in order to then support the organ. Okay. I think I'm doing okay. How are we doing so far? So again, this is kind of chewy stuff. I could probably take each one of these and break it on out for you. But when we have a leaky gut, we're also going to have inflammation, because again, if you've got things leaking into the bloodstream, the body's going to see that as a foreign invader, and foreign invaders will, your body will call in anti-inflammatory components if it sees a foreign invader. And so when we have these foreign invaders, it creates more inflammation, and then that's going to trigger your hormone imbalances. So again, if we just test for hormones, if we just treat the hormones, we're not going far enough upstream to manage and tackle the inflammatory issue. If you have inflammation, you probably have leaky gut. Do you see a pattern here? I remember when I was training, it was my second or third, I've done 3 functional medicine certification courses, and I can't remember if it was my second or third one, but my instructor, he kept saying, it's a gut problem until proven otherwise. And you know what? He has been 100% right. And I haven't had anyone that I've worked with from a functional medicine perspective not have a gut problem. It's 100% a gut issue every single time. Whether you have bloating, whether you have constipation or irritable bowel issues, it's 100% a gut issue. One of the women that I'm working with, that she went on the weight loss shot, and she came in for chiropractic. I hadn't seen her in a while, and we'd talked nutrition a number of times, but just couldn't get her to I just couldn't get her to do what she needed to do to actually start to get to the root cause. And when she came in, and she was like, I know you won't agree, but I'm like, listen, everybody makes decisions that are right for them. But then I very simply asked her, I said, how are your bowel movements? She's like, oh, I'm still only going like 2 or 3 days a week. Like, it's not normal. So if you don't fix that, if you don't come back around and fix that, then what's it for? Now she goes off that shot, and again, her body does not have the building blocks to sustain what she's attempting to do. She's going to keep absorbing those toxins. The toxins want long-term storage, which is fat cells. So if it can't get rid of, if the gut can't get rid of toxins on a regular basis, I'm talking 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. If it cannot get rid of those toxins on a daily basis, it's going to want to put them in fat, long-term storage, because it doesn't have a safe way to get them out. And so if it can't get them out and you don't have enough fat on your body, guess what's going to happen? It's going to force your cravings. It's going to cause disruption in a sense that your metabolism is going to slow down. And then you'll start to put more weight on. Now the body's pretty smart. It's like, okay, we got to make this vessel have our storage so that we can function safely and not die. Like, the body's ability to adapt is amazing. So when we have this chronic inflammation in our gut, it's gonna the inflammation is going to disrupt things like insulin, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It can lead to, for women, irregular menstrual cycles, polycystic ovarian, and then of course fatigue, mood swings, and sleep. So we're seeing this pattern. We're not getting away from this leaky gut issue. And again, looking at the root cause, is it diet? Is it environment? Is it stress? Is it something that happened when you were, I've had people come in and they had chronic strep throat, chronic ear infections as a baby. They were on multiple rounds of antibiotics, and they will say, "Oh, I've had gut issues my whole life. Or I've had migraines my whole life, or my periods have been heavy and painful my whole life." So when you're saying those kinds of things to yourself, this is a gut issue until proven otherwise. And that's typically where we start. So it can affect reproductive health dramatically, even to levels of infertility. So 90% of serotonin, which is our feel-good hormone, is produced in our guts. And if we have a healthy gut microbiome, we should have healthy serotonin levels. But again, if the gut is not healthy, it will lead to more things like anxiety, depression, poor ability to handle stress and sleep, sleep disruption, and just mood stability in general. So we've got to get to how do we fix the gut. And I have a few things that will be very helpful for you. So just recommending that we really get back to eating more fiber-rich foods. And what is that? That's not a piece of bread. That's not fiber-enriched bread. That's not fiber cereal. That's not a fiber supplement. That is things like your cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those types of things, those types of vegetables they actually have a compound called sulforaphane in them. And sulforaphane is a cancer fighter, and it's incredible for your liver. It helps support your liver function. It helps support gut function. So we want to get back to these fiber-rich foods. Also, if you're somebody who takes a fiber supplement every day, you have a gut issue, 100%. So if you have to take a mix and a powder to have a bowel movement every day, or maybe it's helping you have a bowel movement every 3 days, you have a gut problem that needs to be fixed. So the other thing that can help is fermented foods, sauerkraut and sauerkraut, and then there's all kinds of other fermented foods, kefir, yogurt. I just made my batch of homemade yogurt. I make a batch every week. I love it. Let's see. How do we spell sulforaphane? Hold on. Let's see. I think it's sulfora. I'm going to completely butcher it. Sulforaphane, maybe. But also, Laura, I have done a couple of videos. Let's just go grab them. Let's see if I can find them here. I've done a couple of videos on broccoli and maybe cauliflower and let's see, and talked about sulforaphane and the benefits of sulforaphane. Let me see if I can see them real quick. Let's scroll here. It's called Superfoods. The anti-cancer, here we go. Here's one. Let's go get shareable link. And we'll go here. This one is on broccoli. I'm sorry, cauliflower. That one's on cauliflower. But you get the idea. And then I think there was another one I did on, I feel like I did broccoli. Yeah, here we go. And here's this one. This one's on broccoli. I did these videos for Grow Big TV when they were doing seeds. They were talking about seeds and certain seeds and how to grow certain plants. And then they wanted the health benefits of those particular plants. So I did those for them. And I forgot there was a video. What was I talking about earlier? Oh, hold on. Let's see. Let's go back to our most recent, and I'll grab the ones on the stress. Can't find them now. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna find those for you a little later. Um, and yes, the broccoli video. I think that was last year sometime. Hey, Mountain Grandma, how are you? Mountain Grandma has a question. She's been lurking. Oh, thanks for lurking. As long as you hit the thumbs up button, I'm okay. And as long as you're a subscriber. Um, she says, is there a lab you suggest for the testing you were talking about earlier? I think it was mold or heavy metals or any others you'd suggest. Yes. So when I test my patients, I usually start with what's called an organic acids test. And the organic acids test actually it's a great test because it tests your gut microbiome, and so we start there, and it also tests a few mold markers as well. So if you're interested in doing that kind of test, you can reach out to me. I will you can email me there. I can drop ship you the kits. I typically start there because that is one of the best upstream ways to figure out what's going on. A lot of people will reach out and they'll say, I want to do a food sensitivity or food allergy test. Well, if you have a disrupted gut microbiome and I start straight away by doing a food allergy test, that just tells me how disrupted your gut microbiome is. And now we're looking at this it's like lit up like a Christmas tree. And I got to tell you, we got to eliminate all these foods, but it doesn't tell me what the specific bacteria, molds, and fungus are that we need to target. Now, once we start to do that level of healing, then maybe in 3 to 4 months, maybe 6 months, it just depends, it would make sense then to go ahead and do a food sensitivity test. But I don't like to do it straight away. I used to do it straight away. And I stopped because I found it to be, it starts to get expensive and it wasn't as valuable out of the gate. So I try to do things that are more valuable straight out of the gate and then a little bit later. So I hope that makes sense. And so, yes, please email me and we can talk about how to work together for sure. Hey, Vinyl Audio, coming in from Trinidad and Tobago. That is so fun. I love having an international channel. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. I would love that. Almost to 1,400. So we're almost to 1,400 subscribers. So slow and steady wins the race. January was great because we had 200,000 views on the channel. And just 2 years ago when I started the channel, I had 20,000 views in January. So it was really cool to have 10x the channel. So how effective are prebiotic supplements in restoring healthy species if you may be suffering from dysbiosis? This is a great question. So prebiotics are what feed the probiotics. And there's actually a new kid on the block, and it's called Akkermansia. And Akkermansia is this really incredible strain that actually helps to we can't really call it a probiotic. We call it a probiotic, but it actually helps to enhance the pre and the probiotic. And so we really want the prebiotics. So the prebiotics would be like your fermented foods and things of that nature in order to give better food to the good bacteria in your gut. So I think I was saying this before you jumped on here, Vinyl Audio, was that if you have dysbiosis and you have yeast, the yeast gets fed by sugar. So the yeast causes sugar cravings and forces you to eat sugar. So you would then be feeding the yeast with sugar. But if you can eat foods that feed the good bacteria or the good bacteria that you want, then that's the best scenario. So oftentimes if you're just taking a probiotic and you're not managing all of the other things, the prebiotics, the yeast, the fungus, the molds, your probiotic almost, I don't want to say it doesn't stand a chance, but you have to know there's specific forms of probiotics that I use when I'm doing gut repair and helping people with dysbiosis, because we can't kill certain things and take certain probiotics all at the same time. We're going to kill the probiotic. So I'll use certain strains that are resistant to being killed so they can stay while we kill off all the bad stuff. And then they help to recolonate. So I hope that answered your question. That was a great question. Thank you for asking that. Some water. And just drop any other questions that you have in the chat. But gut dysbiosis is so you have to pay attention to it, and you have to treat your body as if you have gut dysfunction every single day. We have to think about what is healing us and what is harming us. And if you're somebody who has a lot of sugar or carbohydrate cravings, then you have to ask yourself, do I have gut disruption? So let's see. I meant to say prebiotic supplements. I'm a believer of getting prebiotic from fermented foods, but they are not always available or takes time to get. So yeah, isn't that what you said? I thought you said, yeah, have prebiotic supplements in restoring healthy species. Yeah, so, just being fully transparent, I do believe that we all need to be getting, we can't go for that Band-Aid. We can't out-supplement a poor diet. We have got to be getting as much as we can from our diets. And so it really is putting that microscope to say, if I'm sick, if I have chronic issues, if I have, chronic pain, if I have autoimmune issues, if there's anything, like, I don't know, I can't rattle everything off all the time, but you get the idea. If you have anything, if you take a medication for anything, and Rick just dropped the word medications, if you take medications for anything, you have leaky gut, period. So you have to treat your body as if you have leaky gut every single day. I don't have chronic health issues, and sometimes I don't sleep very well. I'm getting into that weird menopausal, like it's disrupting my sleep. I do know if I have stress disrupts my sleep. So I'm paying very close attention to my gut health, and I'm making sure that I'm taking my nutrients in the form of high quality foods. And then of course I'm really taking, take more supplements when I'm stressed out. But I don't rely on supplements over food, if that makes sense. So it really becomes there's this term called expensive urine. And I have expensive urine because I want to make sure that I'm eating all the right foods, and then I'm going to take all the supplements. I want all my cells to get saturated. It's like, when you take B vitamins and your pee is bright yellow, your body is saturated. So you're not just peeing it out. What's happened is that it's gone through and it's saturated all your cells and done what it needs to do. And then you pee out the rest. So I'm okay with expensive urine because I know it's doing what it does, but you've got to be able to then do the other things as well. So yeah, your prebiotics, your probiotics, critical, making sure you're getting your omega fats. Vinyl Audio last week, I think it was last week's live, I talked about, let's go back and see, today, I can't find it right away. I thought that was last week's Sunday night. You know what? I didn't do last week's Sunday Night Live because it was the Super Bowl. So, but 2 weeks ago, I did talk about, we talked about, completely lost my train of thought. I'm trying to find it now. If I can find it. Here's the vagus nerve stimulation one. Hold on. I think that's what got me sidetracked. A squirrel. Let's see, who was asking earlier about, or I was commenting, and okay, so that's the video that I did on the vagus nerve. And yes, so now I remember what I was saying. This video here is going to talk about, I already dropped the video on the winter blues. That's what it was. So Vinyl, if you scroll up in the chat, and you'll see the video on fighting winter blues. No, you know what? I didn't drop that one. Let's grab that one. And this one talks about the baseline nutrients that we should all be taking. So, making sure that I talked about water, always staying hydrated, high quality protein, movement, exercise, sleep, and then your baseline nutrients. So yeah, we can't out supplement. We can't out exercise a poor diet. It really has to, we've got to just tap into each and every pillar of our health in order to keep ourselves optimized. So, and you are quite welcome, and I appreciate your questions and appreciate you being here. So, yeah, I think with that, I have so tonight's show notes. I had a few more things that I just want to go through as far as helping to support your gut and your hormone balance. So we talked about eating your fiber-rich and fermented foods. And again, if you're taking a fiber supplement, you have a gut issue and you need to fix that. And I dropped my email if you want to reach out to me and see what that looks like. And of course, reducing your processed foods, sugar, and inflammatory oils. The highly processed foods. So let's just say, okay, I made homemade yogurt. That's a processed food. Okay, it's processed because I had to stir it and heat it and culture it, but it's not highly processed. And I know what's in it. I made sourdough yesterday, baked it this morning. It's 3 ingredients. It's flour, water, and salt. And I added organic pumpkin to it. So, oh my God, I discovered adding pumpkin to my sourdough. It's like amazing. But anyway, I digress. So it's things like that. Like if you're eating, and I'm so glad I took the time to learn how to make sourdough bread because I do love bread. I don't eat it a lot because it's garbage. It's just, the bread out there, it's garbage. I never had the desire to eat it. So the fact that I can make it myself and I can make it super healthy. And there was a study that I had just heard about where there's a particular bacteria in sourdough bread that when pregnant women, or I'm sorry, nursing women eat sourdough, this particular bacteria goes straight to the nipple, and then the baby nurses, and it helps colonate the baby's gut. It's one of the formative bacteria for gut colonation as a baby. Like, think about that. Like, how cool is that? The human body's ability to adapt, the divine healing that we have, this design of how the body functions. Like, it's crazy. So that's, again, is where it's like, we're not going to get, it's same thing. Like I take vitamin D and vinyl audio. I'm kind of, going back to this, kind of stuck a little bit on this prebiotic question and not, trying to get everything from food. But, I supplement with D in the winter because I can't get out and I can't get D. Now, when you're getting out and you're getting vitamin D naturally, it's a multitude of D. It's not just D3. Like it's your body synthesizes D in a multitude of ways versus just taking like D3, which is, that's like the most common. It's very highly absorbable. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that because I can't get outside and I can't get the sunlight. So, it's just different ways to be able to get that. So, Rick says, have a nice day, evening. He's from Australia. Are you leaving us, Rick? Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So let me go back to my show notes here. Okay, so we're going to manage our stress and cortisol levels. Those 2 videos that I just dropped in there, those are some workshops that I did that I talked about stress, some stress tactics and techniques. We want to support our liver detoxification, and we can do that with these cruciferous vegetables, the broccoli, the cauliflower, anything from the brassica family. Cabbage is another one, and again, Brussels sprouts. And they all have sulforaphane in them, which is going to help with their cancer fighters. Optimizing your sleep and your circadian rhythm. Again, that's a whole nother video that I did, but I'm just kind of giving you just some food for thought. And if you want to go back and reference some of the other videos on these, I've pretty much done videos on all of these. And then considering functional lab testing for gut and hormone health. And like I said, I always start my patients with the organic acids test. It's cool. It's a urine test. It's really simple. And it gives us an amazing baseline of what is in your gut and what do we need to do about it. And then we can talk about specific nutrients and, adapting your diet. What does that look like? And what are your lifestyle things that need to be addressed as well? So that's pretty much it that I have. And just keeping in mind that if you have any gut imbalance whatsoever, that looks like, bloating, any kind of irritable bowel issues, constipation, any food sensitivities that you have as well. If you're on any medication, if you have sleep issues, if you have high amounts of stress, we just go on and on. So that's basically the long and short of it. Is just trying to, look at all the pillars and getting your hydration in, get as much hydration as you can. So Vinyl Audio says, I live in the Caribbean and there's lots of sun as I'm 10 degrees above the equator, but I work in the office. So I supplement with D3 5000 with K 4 times a week. Is that too much D? So first of all, please send some sunshine. 10 degrees above the equator. I got to think about that for a minute. Vinyl, that's like a dream for me. I have to tell you, I'm in Michigan. It's very cold here. Yeah, I would love that. I'm just sorry. I'm like, that's so awesome. Anyway, so is that too much to take? So also, I believe in 2 weeks ago live, I talked about D3. I've talked about D3 in many of my videos. So again, you could go back and reference, which I always appreciate if you want to go back and consume the other information. So here's the skinny on D3. I'll give it to you real quick. You should know your number. I also discussed this in one of those workshops too that I posted. You should know your D number. So getting your D number checked is key. And the traditional lab values are like they go from 30 to 100. So if your lab number is 40 or even 50, you're told that's fine and that's normal. Now 50, I'm going to say it's not bad, but we want that number up over 75. So I can't tell you if 5,000 is too much or not. I would say make sure you get your D number checked. And then from there, so I'll just use me for an example. So I spend a lot of time in the sun. You spend a lot of time in the sun. But I'm Middle Eastern. So the darker you are, the more sunlight it takes to absorb and convert to vitamin D. So people who are really white, they don't have to spend as much time in the sun to get max absorption and max vitamin D production. So the darker you are, the longer you have to spend in the sun. So I end up, and I'm in the sun all the time. From the time it's warm outside, I would live outside if I could, and I'm constantly in the sun. But my vitamin D levels are still not to where I want them. So, and because I got this cold, I've been taking 10,000 a day for the past week. And it pulled me through like that. When I first felt my throat was kind of swollen, I immediately got 10,000 on deck. So that's how I use my vitamin D. I'm really long-winded on my answers for you, but I hope that's helpful. But yeah, bottom line, check your D and then go from there is how I would say that. And I usually would say, get it up over 75. And, if you push 75 to 100, you're like, is golden. But vitamin D levels, having high vitamin D levels have been shown to be better than a flu shot. Your risk of COVID is like 0. Like, it's amazing how having higher vitamin D levels are so protective for you. Yeah, that, and you know what? I would love, after you get it checked, I would love to know your number. I would love to know, because especially the interesting thing for me is because you live in the Caribbean, and I don't know what color your skin is, so I think that would be interesting as well to see, like, yeah, like, what is your D number? Because it's this misnomer that just because you live in the sunshine, or just because you're out in the sun all the time, that you have plenty of vitamin D. I do think it's one of the things that many people need to be supplementing with. We can't just make the assumption that just because we're in the sun, we're getting enough of it. And I was under that misunderstanding until I got mine tested a few years ago, and I was like, oh my God, and I do this for a living. So anyway, all right, you guys, we are coming up on just about an hour, and what a great conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button on the way out. If you're new here, I appreciate it. And please subscribe. And yeah, all my new people in here tonight, thank you so much. It's really great to see you. And I love all the questions. I appreciate the questions. And because then I'm not sitting here all by myself talking to myself. So, all right, you guys. So tomorrow morning, I will have Reset Monday up. And Reset Monday, I've been pre-recording those and putting those up. It got to be stressful. We talk about stress. Got to be a little stressful for me to like get to the office early enough to do another live, and then be ready, get the office open, and be ready for patients by 10 o'clock. So I figured if I could just keep up Reset Monday, and I can, I'll just pre-record it and put it up for you guys. So still very valuable information. And I know it's not as interactive as everybody likes. I do love the lives because I love the interaction. And thank you, Mountain Grandma. I appreciate you. And but then otherwise, I'll be here. We got Chiropractic is Sexy on Thursday. So, and then we'll see you next Sunday. So have a great week. And always, please remember, if there's anything you want to hear about, please let me know. I'm here to provide content for you that you're interested in. I don't want to just give you stuff I think you should be interested in. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much. And yeah, Vinyl Audio, thanks for being here and helping the channel be an international channel. I appreciate it. All right, thank you guys. Have an amazing week. See you soon. Bye.